10 on my top 10 RPGs list is Ultima Quest of the Avatar. Now, right off the bat, I want to say that I'm reviewing the NES version, not the original PC version, because the NES version is what I played as a kid, and I consider it to be an overall better game. That is something of an unusual statement, as the Ultima games have traditionally been butchered when adapted for home console, but this is the case where they got everything right. They gave the game a sort of Dragon Quest-style menu system that simplifies and easily takes the place of the traditional 26-letter format of the series. Eventually, the PC series would simplify all that into clickable icons anyway, so this one's a bit ahead of its time. I also find that the graphics and music are a lot better. Aesthetically, it sort of reminds me of the Japanese horror-based RPG Sweet Home, and the music is freaking great. Quest of the Avatar is the fourth game in the series and the first in the second trilogy, which deals with morality. The first three games, The First Age of Darkness, Revenge of the Enchantress, and Exodus, deal mainly with slaying evil beings. They were straightforward tales. Quest of the Avatar offers no great evil, but a vague goal of becoming the Avatar, the representation of the ultimate pinnacle of the 8 virtues. There is also a quest to retrieve the Codex of Knowledge from a dungeon, and this is how you end the game, but it's almost an afterthought, and there is no epic last boss to slay. The game is one of the few 8-bit representations of PC-style role-playing that actually plays well. Many of these games just got butchered on the NES, but Ultima plays well, and despite its PC roots and complicated plot and gameplay mechanics, it's easy enough for anyone who played Dragon Quest to pick it up and play it. You're given a set of questions to ask of an ethical nature, and based on your responses, the game decides which of the 8 virtues is most important to you, and that decides your character class. In a lot of ways, this gives the game a sort of difficulty setting, as you'll have very different experiences based on what you choose. For example, if you choose honor as your most important virtue, you get the Paladin, who is a great fighter, and he could use magic and all but the very best weapons, making the game pretty easy. But if you choose humility, you get the shepherd, who is lousy at everything. It's almost like playing the game in expert mode. Although the plot and ending is the same no matter what, you get very different experiences with the 8 characters, and you even start the game in different locations. Playing as the shepherd is particularly rough, as you start in a destroyed town with no shops or anything. The game basically tells you nothing other than become the Avatar and find the Codex. Everything else is up to you. So you go around from town to town, whether by land or sea or warping through moon gates, talking to people, buying up items, and gathering clues to the location of essential items. You also build up your party. There's 7 other characters who can join you, though you could choose to play the game with a small party or even solo if you want. It's remarkable how much the game is open to your choices for an 8-bit title. Some things in the game can be a bit difficult for Japanese RPG players to adjust to. For example, to cast a spell, you not only have to have the spell in your spellbook and have enough magic points, but you also have to have ingredients called regents to cast it, which you have to buy at a store. I find it to be somewhat annoying, so I generally play as the characters who can fight, but later in the game, when you can afford a whole lot of regents, it is worth it to learn some good spells. The battles also take place on a grid, and you have to move your characters around if they don't use ranged weapons. It gives it a strategic element familiar to games like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics. To get the Codex, you have to find out where it is and have several items to open the path and use them in the correct order. You also have to already be the Avatar. To do that, you have to find shrines and pray at them, find ruins which are sometimes hidden in very obscure locations, delve down into dungeons and find stones, and also you have to make the right choices to be eligible. For example, you have the option of stealing from townspeople, but it will lower virtues like honor, and you have to answer questions characters ask truthfully to raise your honesty score. You even have to visit the seer Hawkwind to check on your progress, as that will raise your spirituality. My only real complaint about the game was the dungeons, as they're done in a first-person mode which can get confusing as everything looks the same. You'll have to draw maps or bring gems with you, and of course you need torches to light everything up, or magic, and you often have to search for secrets like walls you can walk through. The dungeons can be very difficult and confusing unless you have maps or a guide, and the way they're all connected to each other can be difficult to deal with. That being said, out of all the Ultima games, Quest of the Avatar is my favorite, and it's the one that translated the best to home console. The game is remarkably good for its time, and its non-traditional story of attaining morality is something that no one else really did then. Follow-ups would further explore these themes, such as how morals could be corrupted in Part 5, or how there's two sides to every story in Part 6, but the home console adaptations of those were butchered, and it's hard to play these games on modern PCs. Ultima Quest of the Avatar is the kind of game that you could play for a long time and not beat, or if you know what you're doing, you could beat it very quickly. It boasts great graphics, music, and highly unique gameplay, easily earning it a spot on my list. What's crazy is, this is number 10, so it only gets better from here.